glimpse inside two wonderfully creative minds and perhaps discover where some of these unforgettable characters come from. So please join me in giving a warm Charleston welcome to our hometown author, Danny McBride and Steve Little. Oh!
Glad you got those pens, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. And Steve, welcome to Charleston. Thanks for coming here.
Thank you. It's great here. It's great.
I thought it would be pretentious for me to read from the book in front of you guys, so I recruited Steve to ask me pretentious questions in front of all you guys tonight.
I got a big pink pad of pretension right here.
Steve, are you going to give them all the fixins tonight?
Yeah. I'm not going to say that so early, maybe at the end there. Okay, we'll get this on the road. Okay, my first question, the most important question, there's the who, what, the where, and the why. So why did you write this book?
Just the why, the who, the what, the where. That doesn't matter? Just the why.
We'll get to that.
You know what? I really wanted to see if I could do what I've been doing in TV now for 20 years, if I could take what we've done with the audiences in that medium and do it in something entirely new. You know, try to see if I could kind of create that experience, the comedy, the pathos, and do it in a different format. Mm-hmm. Because if you can do that, then you don't have to deal with Hollywood anymore. You don't have to listen to anybody.
No, and my relationship to this book right here is that about a couple weeks ago, I was asked to do it, to come here, and I got it sent to me, right? And then there's about 10 stories in here, so what I chose to do is every day I would read one story and then just kind of think about it and then maybe write a couple questions after about the story or about a question it inspired. And then I think one thing when you were comparing it to your TV work is I do think you did that. I do think these stories, you know, could be on TV or something. But I think one thing you do in your work is you sort of have characters go through moral choices. And you have people like Kenny Powers, who's like, Kenny Powers. You know, who's like...
You just turned into Stevie there. You were like, fucking give it to him.
But he's got his own ego, but he's trying to do the right thing. And Neil Gamby, who's trying to do the right thing, but he's got his ambition. And Jesse Gemstone, who's got his whole family that he could just be lazy, but he's trying to do the right thing. So I do feel like there was morals in this, right? And every story has a lesson. And so that's what I was kind of thinking as I was going through it. And then I just want to read on the last page and then get you to talk about it. It's in the acknowledgement section. And it says, I want to thank my mom, who was a writer before me. Growing up watching her write puppet ministry plays for church when I was a kid influenced me more than she will ever know. She's here tonight, right?
Yes, she is.
Yeah. So a question that I have here on my pad of pretension is, what lessons did you learn from your mother's writing and puppet shows? And how did her influence your writing, her lessons influence your writing career and this book?
You know, in those puppet shows, she would swear so much, you know, and I incorporated all that in these church plays. You know what I think it was is that it was, I grew up loving movies and when we moved to Fredericksburg, Virginia, we got cable and it was like kind of blew my mind that there was suddenly all these ways to watch all these stories. It captured my mind at the perfect time. And then to watch my mom write these, these small puppet shows that were going to happen before the main sermon, to see her write those in our kitchen, and then to be at church a few days later and watch people react to what she had written, watch them laugh, watch them be moved by it. I think it unlocked something in me that it was like, that's pretty cool that you can create something on your own, and then a few days later, it's for the enjoyment of other people, and you get a reaction for other people. I think I didn't realize that was a way to, connect with people. And I think from watching her do that, it kind of opened the seed of that in my brain.
And it's sort of that she could do it and complete something made you think you could complete things too.
Totally. And the difference was that she put her hands up those puppets' asses. And I've never been able to do that with any of the people I've worked with, unfortunately.
True. You came close, though. Okay, and then we're going to stick to back in time for now. In your early years of elementary, junior high, high school, were there any particular positive or encouraging experiences that led you to believe that one day you would write a 354-page motherfucking book?
No, there wasn't. No. You know what? I always liked writing. I have notebooks from when I was in 5th grade where there were spiral ring notebooks of writing like a ripoff of Cujo that was called K9, and it's in my house here. Same shit, same exact thing happens in the movie. But I always enjoyed writing. I always did. And so I think then when I got into middle school, I befriended someone whose family had a video camera, and then we would start making movies in our backyard, one of which was Stand By Me Part 2, which was about Ray Brower, the dead kid from the first one. They unlocked a curse when they found him, and so he comes to kill all of them. So I've always been a sicko, and I've always been interested in telling stories. And in high school, actually, that was the very first time I ever even kind of messed around with acting for real. And it was I joined the drama club in 10th grade, and ended up with a buddy of mine writing the plays that our school would perform. I think we wrote 2 different one-act plays for them that we performed, and then we got cocky and thought we didn't need to take anybody's notes, so we wrote another one in senior year, and it didn't get made because we didn't take the notes. So we were already only listening to ourselves back then. Yeah.
So you got some positive feedback and then took it too far.
Took it too far. Well, we didn't. We thought we knew. I think you're in high school. You write a one-act play. They perform it. You think you're better than everybody else. Yeah. You don't have to listen to what people have to say.
Okay, then I'm going to ask about the process of writing this book, and I'm going to do one other quote from this book. It's also in the acknowledgments section.
You're milking that acknowledgement.
No,
I love
just
it.
two.
Just
it's
stay
just
there.
2. I read the book too.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
10 days, a story a day. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. This, in the acknowledgement, it says, I want to thank my family who left me alone in my office as best they could as I stared at my computer, paced and whispered to myself like a lunatic. And my question is, talk about your book writing process, your hours you work, your technique, etc. Did your family members ever compare you to Jack Nicholson from The Shining?
Only when I came after them with an axe. That was like one day. That was it. My process with writing has changed drastically. Before I had kids, we'd write Eastbound. We were in the office every day, 9 o'clock in the morning till midnight. I mean, we just lived and breathed writing it. And honestly, I don't even think we were even writing that effectively then. We would probably be in there for, 15 hours, and maybe we wrote for 2 of them. You would spend all the time figuring out what was for lunch, or, what was for dinner, or it was always about passing menus around. But so I think as I had kids and then my time became more limited, you started to realize that it was really important you have to get the work done. So you have to find the best way to do that. And I just found that I'm better in the morning. So I used to be a night owl. I used to write I would stay up till all hours of the night and write. And with kids, it's changed. I get up at like 5 in the morning, and I'll try to crush things before they go to school. I'll drop them off at school and finish stuff. And I try to be done by like noon in case the weather's nice. I can go out in a boat, go to Home Team Barbecue, get some wings. Just do the important things,
Okay. And the title of this book, Thrilling Tales of Modern Men, was that something that came at the beginning or at the end, or was it something that tied everything together, or?
The whole sort of idea for even writing a book of short stories was that being on Gemstones, for instance, I wrote on that. We worked on that show for 7 years, and it was an absolute blast. It was so much fun to write for that show. But it is that thing that after a while, it's like every day when you're writing, so much of your brain power is about these set of characters and this situation, and you start to yearn to write other things about other characters or anything. So it was, with this book, it was a chance to tell short stories where every story could stand on its own. It didn't need to connect to a larger story. You didn't have to kind of like in episodic TV, everything is a story that connects to the next episode and the next episode and the next episode. So it's a different way of writing. You're almost kind of constructing a puzzle in a way, because you want to give audiences enough that they want to keep watching, but you don't want to pay it off totally because they have to keep watching. And so with this, you could just jump into one story and take it to its conclusion. And that was a new concept to me. I mean, I've written over 80 episodes of television, and it's that format. It's 30 minutes. And so this was like something entirely new to not have to think that way.
Nice. Okay, now these stories,
Steve, I think they just got the book like 5 minutes ago. I don't think they probably haven't read it yet, maybe. They might be on your 10-day program where it might be.
Get on the 10-day program. But I'm gonna talk about the first story and ask some questions about it, and it's gonna enhance their reading experience.
I love it.
And without giving too much away. The Illusionist. This story is about a divorced father who decides to follow his dream and become a magician. He puts himself in a glass cube 20 feet in the air for 30 days at the local mall, and nobody cares. A theme in your work, Danny, is lofty goals and nobody caring. Jesse Gemstone's masturbation pods come to mind.
How dare you? They were for prayer, not.
But in real life, people do care about your work, and they showed up here. So, do you have any advice for artists or people in the audience doing stupid shit nobody cares about? How do you get people to care? And also, as a writer, actor, director, is there an artistic medium that makes you feel most exposed, like you're in a glass cube?
All right, Steve, you took this up a notch. I like that you got out of the acknowledgments.
Hey, I told you I read it.
Start getting into the meat and potatoes now, okay.
Fixins.
Yes. Well, this format you are very exposed in this format. Usually when you write a script, it's the very beginning of of the process. You're writing something that then you're going to hire a bunch of really talented people to make what you wrote better. Whether it's actors like Steve Little coming in and taking a B- scene and turning it into an A+ scene with their amazing delivery. Or if it's your cinematographer who lights it and makes it look beautiful and shoots it in a way that you never would have imagined, or your composer putting music over the emotion to just nail what the intention was. So when you're writing this way, you unfortunately have none of those fucking people. None of them are there. And so you have to, it's on you to deliver what the
So you
what the
feel like
takeaway
right
is.
now, this is the thing you feel very kind of exposed about.
For sure. The moment it was, it's interesting because I spend my days in a writer's room. We're constantly writing stuff that is constantly shut down. I mean, you can have no ego in the writer's room. Everybody, if you were worried about your ideas being bad, you would never get anything done. Like, you have to feel the freedom to be like, yeah, this shit sucks. That idea is better. Go with that one. That's just part of what the process is. So it was interesting that with this, when I started it, I was like, oh God, it's like, I don't even know who to show this to. And I showed it to John Kachuri and Jeff Fradley, who are two of the guys that I write Gemstones with. I went to North Carolina School of the Arts with them and have written with them a lot. And I remember sending it to them, and I sent a little. I didn't give them the full 10. I gave them like one or two. And I was like on pins and needles, like, well, it's probably enough time to finish a 15-page story. I wonder if they liked it or they didn't. But they were encouraging, and I started to feel instantly like, oh, this isn't much different from what we're doing. It's the same level of exposure ultimately, and you just have to have confidence at the end of the day that you know how to do it. And I think that's with everything. To what you were saying earlier, how do you do something when no one seems to give a shit? Well, you have to give a shit ultimately. Like, if you're not your biggest supporter, you're not gonna. Don't expect to find that from strangers. Like, you need to be excited about what you're trying to do. You need to be committed to what you're trying to do. And then the hope is that there's other people out there like you that will think weird shit is funny like you think. Yeah.
Okay, good. That's a good answer. Okay, I'm going to ask another question based on the story.
Not the acknowledgments. No?
No.
Stories, okay.
This is called RoboCare. This is a story about a man entering old age and the robot caretaker who the man hates. Now, I've always found you, Danny McBride, to be very technologically savvy, and you have the latest gizmos and gadgets. Yet your characters always seem to hate technology. So what is it, bro? When you're alone with your friends pontificating about technology, what are you saying? Have you ever thrown your phone in the ocean because it wouldn't stop buzzing? And when you are 100 years old, who do you want to wipe your ass?
You.
No. So I'm not doing it, but
We'll see.
We'll see. So yeah, talk about, there's a lot of talk about that technology, and this story is about technology.
Yeah, this story was a lot of fun to write, and you got the book, so that's great, but the audiobook is the shit too. And John Goodman reads this story, and he crushes it. I got a few different people to read these different stories. Some familiar faces. Edie Patterson reads one. Sturgill Simpson reads the story. Sam Rockwell. It's a fun cast. But John Goodman read this story, and yeah, he perfectly captured it. And he's of age in the story where he's had a stroke recently. His wife has passed away, and his two adult kids don't really know what to do with him, and neither of them want him living with them. So they sign him up for this new program where they basically put like an Elon Musk robot in your house that it's the evolution of the help I've fallen and can't get up model. It's a robot, and he has a very contentious relationship with it that turns almost deadly. I don't want to give anything away. But it is a story about people not wanting to adapt to technology.
So what about you? And you are up to date, and you
I'm a man of means, Steve. I like luxuries. I like technology, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm not living in the Stone Age. I understand how to use my iPhone.
Yes.
You don't throw it in the ocean when it buzzes. You fucking turn it off, Steve. That's a simple thing to do.
That's true. Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to ask another question here. This is the story, The Vicious Kind. And it starts out. It starts out with a man losing a view he once had from his bedroom window, and he feels slighted. Do you ever write from a place of anger or feeling slighted? What keeps you motivated? Your book is thick like a weapon. If you knew you weren't going to jail, is there a hater or someone in your past you'd love to smack in the face with saying, I wrote this book, motherfucker? Who would you fucking smack with your book?
Oh man, I don't know if there's anyone. I'm not trying to throw my pearls before swine. I'm not trying to use this as a weapon, Steve.
Okay.
But who would you hit with this book?
I mean, I went to college and I took a test. I don't know if I'm dyslexic or what, but I took a test, and the woman said that based on the test, my advisor, that I couldn't get better than a C in her class. Mm-hmm. And I remember, it's like I'm not even in college yet. It's going to start in 2 days or whatever. You're telling me that I can only get a C and you don't even know me?
Her whole job should be to get you to the A.
Yeah, and be encouraged, and what happened to creativity and those types of things. And so I get a B+ in her class.
You showed her.
Yeah. No, but it's just people telling you things you can't do.
Did you ever think that maybe she told you that you would only get a C so you would get the B+?
Oh, no, I never thought
Might have
that.
been a technique.
That's good. That's a good technique. Good cop, bad cop. That's a good point. But yeah, so I do have people who encouraged me along the way, like in elementary school and things like that, but I also
That was a long time ago.
I know.
Elementary school.
But sometimes people can say things that stick with you.
Yeah.
My brother has a kid, and he graduated from kindergarten or second grade, something, and then they said, "Oh, Julian, a creative boy." And then 3 years later, he's like, "Dad, do you remember when they said a creative boy?" So the point is, it sticks. And he's creative.
God, that's good for Julian. I like that happened for him.
So you don't. But
well, I know what you're saying. It's like Julian. He's a creative boy. But I feel like you can't if you're going to. If you're going to go into the arts or anything and you're going to step into the public spotlight, you have to sort of be okay with getting thick skin, because the idea that you would release something, whether it's a movie or music or Julian doing whatever the hell Julian was doing, and that people wouldn't have opinions on it, like that's the whole point of doing it. And so when people have
But what
opinions,
about back in the day?
No, everyone just cheered me on, dude. I had no one against me. I wasn't like Julian.
I'll tell you a story. We were doing Eastbound, and then you guys added a scene in the second season when we're going across the border and smuggling Maria in, right? And the scene they added was you put a toll booth, crossing the border, and that guy Pooch, who was a PA, I guess he auditioned and you gave him the role. And so this is his first speaking role, his first acting role. He's gonna be on the show, and he was just there to be a PA. And I say, Pooch, that's amazing. You're gonna be on this show and be in the Screen Actors Guild, and it's gonna be great. And he said, oh, yes, Steve. I can't wait till my ex-girlfriend sees this. So that energy doesn't necessarily push you on.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Okay.
It doesn't, but that's not to say that that's a bad thing. I mean, you got to get there any way you can. And if it's an ex-girlfriend that motivates you to rub it in her fucking face, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, this story's a book burner, and it's about a man named Dwayne who has suffered a traumatic life event and believes a famous author has ripped off his personal tragedy for his latest novel. Do you feel like people rip you off? Does it make you mad? The author says artists have antennas to pick up what's going on in the world. Do you feel like you have an antenna? And are you worried that being famous has changed what your antenna picks up?
Ooh, damn, Steve. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Take that, ex-girlfriend. Yeah, you know what? I think as you go through life, and everything changes. So I think, the spaces you're allowed in, the things you can observe, all of that stuff will change through time. And so I think the idea, though, of being observant and watching what's out there in the world, for me, that is fine. And honestly, it's part of why I even moved to Charleston, is that when I was living in Los Angeles, I would find that every time I came home to Virginia or came back to the South, that's where I would get ideas. Then I'd go back to Los Angeles, and then I would just drive around and look at all these billboards of all the other movies that were being made, and I would feel no ideas. And I felt like when I was home or I was back in the South, I just felt like my antenna was just working. I could see things and I could identify things, and it just felt like it was more natural to me. Mm-hmm. There we go. That story doesn't work as good in LA.
No.
They're like, boo, boo. We want you to be inspired by the Netflix billboards.
No, and that leads me to my next question in your next story, all right? Last night of the runaway adventure. This story starts out with two runaway kids trying to get to California to pursue their dreams. Do you think it's important for people to leave home to pursue their dreams? Talk about when you first moved to California. Were you speaking your dreams out loud? What were they, and how do they compare to what actually happened? And what jobs did you have before making it?
All right, well, let's start. That's like 10 questions, Steve.
Yeah,
I can't even fucking remember what the first one was after you got...
Do you think it's important for people to leave to follow their dreams?
I don't think you have to. You could achieve your dreams where you're at, but I think for us, I went to the North Carolina School of the Arts in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And, at that time, when I applied to that school, it wasn't like film was offered in most schools. It was basically like you could go to NYU or you could go to USC, and then this little school kind of sprouted up out of nowhere. This art school had been there, but the film department was brand new. I think my class was like the third class to graduate from there. So, I got there, and it was the very first time I'd been around a bunch of people who also came from my background. They were all like middle-class kids who grew up in the South, and they all liked movies, but lived really far away from where movies were made. Mm-hmm. And just like me, we'd watched everything, and we were rabid about it. And I think because that school was so far outside of New York and LA, I think it made us feel like we were outsiders and that we needed to stick together in order to sort of crack that bubble. And so when we moved to LA, that was always part of it. We knew that at that time there was no Zoom, there was no way to do business outside of that city, and so you had to live there. So that always felt like that was part of the equation. And it's expensive to live there. So we would move there. I think I moved back home like 3 different times because I would run out of money and couldn't pay rent, had to come home and save money again to go back into an apartment I couldn't afford. And then 3 months later, it would be the same situation. And you just were on that cycle. And there was something exciting about it because you really had to prove that you wanted to do this because you were willing to sleep on couches or, I think one of my first job in LA was a show called Battle Dome. It was a ripoff of American Gladiators, and I vacuumed the Battle Dome in between matches. That was my first job in LA.
Yeah, that's a good story.
We'd vacuum teeth up out of the Battle Dome.
And you also worked at the Burbank Holiday Inn, right?
I worked at the Burbank Holiday Inn. Yes, yeah. Somebody from the housing, the maintenance staff is here. Yeah.
Okay, this is sort of, you touched on this a little, but in Mr. Lillitrap's Sword, a history teacher who collects Civil War relics discovers a very special sword. Now, you've had Civil War episodes in Eastbound, in Gemstones, and now this. How did growing up in Virginia and living in Charleston affect your artistic sensibility?
Wait, what was the Eastbound Civil War episode?
When me and you were running from the cannonballs.
Oh, that's Civil War.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
When you and you were Cherry Blossom.
Yeah. I mean, those were Civil War reenactors, right?
Were they? Okay. They
See,
were Korean guys from Kia.
That's right. But yeah, see, I'm from California, so it's very.
You see a cannon, you just think this is Civil War shit. Yeah.
But it affected you.
It did. You know, growing up in Fredericksburg, Virginia, there was a lot of Civil War action there, just like Charleston. And I liked that. I liked living somewhere where all this stuff I was learning in school happened right there in my backyard. I felt like it gave it cool perspective. I mean, it's like crazy that you read about these things and then you can drive down the road where it happened. And I think that was part of what I really loved about Charleston when I came here for the first time is I loved all the history that was here, and it reminded me of what I liked about growing up in Fredericksburg.
Mm-hmm. Then we're going to talk about Gerald's wife. And this story's about an annoying busybody woman and all the stupid, toxic shit she does one night at a party with a group of friends. This story makes me think about your group of friends. No. But talk about the importance of your friend group in your own success. And is there any things that you're scared to write because you don't want to start drama in your friend group?
No, of course not. I've written over 80 episodes of television. All this shit's already in there. Like, where do you think all those ideas come from? No, I'm very, very fortunate in the fact that a lot of the people that I met when I was 18 years old at film school are people who are, not only do I work with them still to this day, but they're very important people in my life. And so this whole journey has been so much fun because of the fact that I've experienced it with people that I've known since I was a teenager. And that, those friendships that I made at School of the Arts were, we always talk about it where it feels like it was such a massive part of our lives. And then it was only 4 years, and you can kind of see 4 years goes by in a blink. And it's amazing how much that 4 years shaped decades afterwards.
Well, when people talk to me about Eastbound, what I say is that you got Randy working on props and Scott on locations and John and people that you, and of course Jody and David, that you all went together, but because they're all different levels, and it was a group of friends doing it, and I think that is really important, which doesn't get talked about enough.
Well, and it's not. What's cool about it is that if you have a band, everybody's success depends on that band staying together.
Yeah.
And with our situation, everybody was a filmmaker first. They all have their own sensibilities, their own tastes, and so it's great when we have a show that can bring everyone together. But then when we're not doing the show, everyone has all of these pretty unique careers where they get to go out and work on other projects, learn other things. And then every time we come back together, it's sort of like everyone's evolved a little bit. And it's been fun to watch that over the years.
And I remember one story on Eastbound, but he didn't go to school with you guys, but Scott, one of the prop guys, he did the props for Inception, with Christopher Nolan. And then
he had the top. Remember, every night when we get drunk at the bar, he would bring the top out from the end of Inception and spin it. Yeah.
And he would say that Christopher Nolan has his specific, for the briefcase that the guy has to open it up, and it's all specific. And but I guess then he's like, it was all Christopher Nolan telling him what to do, and he didn't have like the creativity to do that. But I guess my point is, then there's an episode where you have kids in Eastbound, and then he he takes a dildo, he takes a vibrator and sticks it in a dinosaur's ass and turns it on so the dinosaur goes like this, and he's like, Steve.
A brilliant idea for a toy, yeah.
Look what I did. Okay, I'm gonna.
No, but like let's go back to that.
Yeah.
But that is, again, what the difference between writing this book and creating something on TV is. Like, that's what's so fun about TV. It is fun when you work with these other artists and you can have a scene like that where you're like, hey, we need fucked up toys that Kenny would have made for his kid. And then you go to the props guy and then he spends the next 2 weeks like baking up all this crazy stuff. And and everyone gets to participate. And that's what I think is so much fun about all of it, is that it's fun to give people a long leash to go and put their stamp on things. I think that's what makes making TV and movies really fun.
Well, and to that point, yeah, when I first saw Stevie's apartment that he was living in, he had little tchotchkes, and from like where he had gone, and he'd gone to a peanut farm somewhere, and it's like every place he had visited was about 2 hours away from where Shelby, North Carolina is. And then the production people, I go in the room, we were shooting at a different apartment a couple seasons later when I had a bunch of kids, and we didn't even shoot in this room, but it was the bathroom, and it was an oval toilet with a circle of toilet seat, as if like one of the kids broke the toilet seat, and Stevie ran to the Home Depot. Oh, wait, do we have an oval or do we have a circle? I don't know. And he had made the wrong opinion, and they weren't able to get it.
I love that you took all that in.
Yeah.
None of that's by accident. Richard Wright, who's our production designer, I went to film school with Richard as well, and that's one thing that's been amazing about working with him, is that he does that. Him and his department put such detail into the character sets that it's for that same reaction, for you to walk in there and be inspired about your character and kind of have an understanding of who this person is, and it's their way of adding to the narrative, adding to the story.
Okay, I'm going to ask couple questions, then we'll take questions from the audience. And my two are, when somebody comes up to you on the street or in the airport and gives you a compliment about your creative life, is there a particular compliment that makes you feel better than others? And then do you want to answer? You answer that, and I'll give.
I think there's two that I get all the time, and every time it feels good, which is it'll be someone who says that someone passed away or they went through a hard time, and then this was. They bonded over watching one of these shows, and that's sort of like, when you're creating something, for that to be what the outcome is kind of the best case scenario, that you put something out there that helps somebody else get through something tough, The other one will be from like SEALs and military guys, like, we would fucking come home and watch this shit and laugh our asses off after we fucking raided a village. You're like, yes.
And my last question is that this book is now going to be in libraries now and in the future.
Will it?
Yeah. Is there a particular person you're most excited about picking it up and reading it?
Well, after you took 10 days to read it, it really kind of felt like... You know what? I think one of the people I was excited. I was excited for people in my life to read it. I was really excited about my high school English teacher, who I mentioned in the thank yous in the beginning, Molly Jones. She was someone who was very influential to me in high school. I went to a public school, and she just had an appreciation for the arts, and she was really good at being able to show you why the arts were cool, why reading was cool, why literature is cool, why movies are cool. And it always stuck with me, and I've kept in touch with her to this day. So it is a little stressful to send your high school AP English teacher a book you wrote. Be like, damn, I hope I didn't fuck the syntax up. She's gonna give me notes.
Do we have some questions for us?
Steve, you did really good.
Hey, thank you.
Really
thank
good.
you. Okay. The first question is from Pam. And it is, how did you have the mental energy and motivation to write this book in between writing seasons of the genius, brilliant, Righteous Gemstones?
Thank you, Pam. You know what? It's because it was fun. You know, once you get hooked into a story, I just get excited about finishing it so that someone else can see what I'm seeing. And so I think that was always the litmus test for what stories would stay in, is if I was excited about them, or if I was excited about people reading it or taking that ride, that would motivate me to get to the finish line. And you kind of create the energy to finish it if you feel like it's worth finishing.
Mm-hmm. Great.
You like that? That was good?
Yeah.
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah. Any updates on the Gemstones live action tour from Anonymous?
There is no updates, but I definitely would be open to that. I think it would be a lot of fun to do a live Gemstones show.
You could do it here.
We've thought about just opening up a real Gemstones church, and we just rotate through. Everybody, get Walton on Sundays, get Edie on Wednesdays, just rotate through the cast.
Yeah. Okay, this is from Amanda C. from Ladson, South Carolina, and it is, what are your biggest creative inspirations?
Out in Ladson with them heavy-hitting questions. I'm inspired by a lot of stuff. I'm inspired by books. I grew up reading Stephen King and loving him. And so I definitely think, he inspired me when I was young to even want to read. And then just, every kind of movies. I mean, I grew up in video stores in the 80s. So a lot of the 80s movies still have an unusually large section of my brain. And so, I get, music I find inspiration in, and I kind of find it wherever. Sometimes I'll find it just walking down the street and, looking at a dog taking his shit on the corner. Sometimes sometimes you get something from that.
Well, I think, because I've heard a question like that be lobbed at you before, and I also think it is your friends, too, that you can have, you guys talked about movies that you haven't even seen yet, but it's just fun to talk about,
That was what we found at School of the Arts that was so new, was that, when I found that group of buddies, and there were people that you could talk about movies with, that to be so into something and then live in a town where there's maybe one other person who's into that as well, the conversations kind of get boring. And it was interesting that when I met all these guys, we're all able to talk about story and directors and shots, and those conversations have continued on to this day, where, a lot of times with some of these guys, the moment we get up in the morning and start writing, it's always about what we just watched or what we just saw or a trailer for something that's out. That love for film and for stories is still what sort of connects us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is another anonymous. Tell us about This Is the End. How insane was it? My bad. How insane was it on set with all those goobers?
That movie was a blast. As much fun as it is to watch is how much fun we had making it. It was Seth and Evan's first movie they were directing, so I'd been on the set with those guys before, but they were never in control, and that was the one where they were in control. And something that was interesting about that movie was, up until that point, everything was really still shot on film. And the thing with film is that you only have about 11 minutes in a mag. So when you would do takes, we shot Eastbound on 35. So when we would improv, you'd be in the middle of an improv run and the camera mag would run out after 11 minutes. You'd have to stop and be like, all right, remember what we were just saying, and reload the thing, and then you would go into it again. So This Is the End, I think, was the first movie I shot that was on digital. And now everything's shot digitally, it seems. But the difference is that there is no end to the mag. It's like, so we would like do these takes that would literally go on for an hour, and the cameras would start melting because they were like overheating so much. So, you know, it was an insane experience because you would start a scene and it just would not stop. And then you're looking around like, are they gonna say cut? Like, they're not. Let's fucking put a gun in each other's mouths. Let's like say shit about James Franco. Let's just keep going. It pushed you to kind of keep saying terrible stuff in the hopes that somebody would be like, we're good, we got it.
That's interesting. That's technology informing comedy.
Yeah.
You know? When did you realize that you, Anonymous, when did you realize
This
that
isn't someone from Ladson? This is not?
Yes.
No? Okay.
When did you realize you weren't a fuck up, but a talent! Exclamation point.
I think I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I think, still.
Will there ever be a world where vice principals will pick up where Danny and Steve Little are running the school?
Come on now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I do want to figure out something for me and you to join back up and rock. I think it'd be so much fun.
Yeah. How does it feel to be the sexiest comedian ever?
That one was to you, Steve. You know that was to you.
I wrote that down. What's your favorite scene from Eastbound and Down?
Oh, man. There are a ton of them. You know what's weird is that I never go back and watch Eastbound. Like, you know, we live it so much, and I'll see it so much when we're editing it, and then when it airs, it kind of goes away. So every now and then, people will send me something, and my reaction is always like, oh my God, I can't believe we did that. I'm always surprised by it. I do kind of feel that the Civil War episode you were talking about in Eastbound. I remember the energy of that night, and it felt dangerous. It felt like, it felt kind of crazy. I mean, that episode in particular was the perfect example of like nobody was watching us. We were, we purposely chose to shoot Eastbound in Wilmington because there was no direct flights from LA, and we knew that the executives would never come there if they had to fucking have a connecting flight. So, and they didn't. They never came. they would get the note. They would get the dailies and be like, "What are you all doing?" I mean, I don't want to embarrass you, Steve, but there is a story in the second season that was we had a massive when we sold Eastbound, we sold it. There was a different person in charge of HBO. They bought the show. They got the show. That person left while we were shooting the series, and someone new came in. No one had been paying attention to this little bullshit show that was shooting in fucking Wilmington, North Carolina, until we were about to be done. And then they started getting the first cuts, and the executive was like, "What the fuck is this?" And they're like, "Are you kidding me? This is what we paid for?" I mean, the notes were literally like, "He's littering. He can't do that. He's not wearing a seatbelt. Can we give him a dog? Can we give him something that will make people like him?" And our thing was like, well, that's the whole point of this, is that like you shouldn't like him, and then you will learn to like him. That's going to be the journey that you'll take. And we got into this. We didn't know anything, so we were just fighting everyone. And it got into this argument where they were like, if you don't take our notes, we won't do any marketing for the show at all. And I remember Jody and I looked at each other and were like, I'm from Fredericksburg. I've never seen a fucking billboard for an HBO show in Fredericksburg. Like, I think we'll be okay. And so we didn't change anything. We kept it on. And then when the show came out, thank you. We were being mean. We should have been a little nicer about it. But then when the show came out and it found an audience and they saw what we were doing, to their credit, and that's why I still work with them today, because I think they're awesome. They literally said, you guys were right and we were wrong, and we want to be as supportive as we can, and we want to help you guys create this story. And we still work with those same executives today. But so the second season, they had told us that we're all good. Do what you guys want. The very first day of filming down in Puerto Rico in the second season, the very first thing we're filming is you having relations with a prostitute.
Oh, yeah.
And we were filming it. And in the dailies, I believe we captured glimpses of your butthole.
Yeah.
And
from behind, yeah.
And HBO came to set the next day. They flew to Puerto Rico. They're like, whoa, when we said do what you want, we did not mean that you could film Steve Little's butthole. That is not part of what we're talking about here.
And the fact that we talked about before, but that because it was not promoted, it was discovered. And because this was discovered, I had people come up to me and say, oh, I love that show, and my brother told me about it, or my dad showed it to me, and then so there's an ownership, and then it kind of makes me sort of against promotion since then a little bit, you know.
Well, I definitely think when we always looked at Eastbound promotion the same way. If you like a band, it's sort of like you like to discover that band yourself, and you like to share it with your friends. But the moment that Rolling Stone or whoever is telling you you should like this band, that's always when the backlash comes, or people be like, "No, all the normies like it. I don't like it anymore."
Yeah.
So we were totally fine with our stuff always sort of flying right under the radar, where it was never really embraced by the esteemed publications, and we were okay with it because it was being embraced by the people who actually like it, and it felt like it was more organic, people being into it.
Yeah, people's reactions. Okay, well, I believe in serendipity, and this is my last card. Yeah, I know, so this might be...
Was it about the acknowledgments? Are we going to go back to that?
No. I want to thank the audience for coming here, though.
Yeah, thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you. And this card says, can you give Stevie a big old hug from me?
Oh, of course. Come here, Dio.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming out here tonight. I hope you enjoy the book. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.